Hey guys, welcome to Yogalates with SJ. I'm SJ and today we have a 40-minute abs and booty workout. This is a total body workout, but it does have a focus of the abs and the booty. So you don't need any equipment for this, but if you do want to use a resistance band or a booty band and you have one handy, you might like to add it in. Certainly don't need this though, so we are going to be toning and tightening the whole body, but really focusing into the thighs, the glutes, the low legs, and also into the entire core. So every muscle throughout the core, through those abs. Cool, so just taking a moment here, we're just starting to take a seat onto your mat. You're lengthening up, so sitting up nice and tall and letting the shoulders release down the back. Bringing the hands down next to the hips. Your feet are about hip width apart, soles of the feet are onto the mat. You're bringing the arms forward and palms facing inward. And then we're just starting to slowly come back. So you're starting to bring the navel to spine as you just very slowly roll the spine down and then come back up as you inhale. Exhale, coming back, navel to spine, keeping your head in a neutral, so not really bringing the chin down and not lifting the chin up. You're keeping length through the back of the neck. You are keeping the shoulders relaxed. You're not locking through those elbows, so you are reaching the fingertips forward, but still keeping strength through the shoulders, through the arms, without bringing any tension into your joints. Awesome. If this feels good for you, you might even start to come down a little bit lower each time, maybe even coming to a full roll down and a full roll up. So working with what feels good for you. If you're noticing this is feeling a little bit too much, with the arms extended, you can start to hold on to the back of the knees and continue with it, staying quite high into those little roll downs. Or you could start to walk the hands all the way down, so holding the hands onto the outside of the thighs and just starting to walk the hands down and then walk the hands back up. So really using a little bit of your arm strength to help you here. I just want you to make sure that the whole time you're keeping that engagement of engagement of core. So you are not letting the low back or any part of the back take the weight here. You're also relaxing into those hip flexors. So we're not letting those hip flexors take the tension. Cool. If you are doing your full roll down, you might start to bring the arms up overhead as you come down and then starting to come all the way back up, rolling the spine vertebra by vertebra. As you come down, we are allowing every single part of the spine to touch down onto the mat and then finding length here through the fingers as you bring the arms up overhead. And then starting to come up using those core muscles to reverse that roll of the spine, coming all the way back up, lengthening, inhale, exhale, rolling down, keeping this slow and controlled. So the slower that you do this, the more effort your body has to go to really stabilize here and to build strength. So trying to slow this down and feeling into every single little vertebra of the spine, feeling into those core muscles, really working here. Cool. When you're ready, we're just taking a moment here to come down onto the back, bringing the arms out into a cactus shape. So the elbows are slightly lower than the shoulders. You've got the back of the hands releasing into the earth. And then just starting to bring the feet in a little bit closer towards the pelvis. So almost like you're trying to bring the back of the heels to the pelvis and you're reaching the arms down by your sides and the fingertips towards those heels. Just making sure you've got a natural curve of the spine so you aren't tucking the tailbone under or pressing the tailbone into the mat. You've got a tiny little lift here through the low back, so there's a little space between the lower back and the mat. We're coming to a bridge, guys, so just starting to lift the hips up as you reach the arms up overhead, and then exhale as you start to roll the spine back down vertebra by vertebra. Arms come down and then you're lifting up into a crunch, reaching for the knees and then reaching the arms back overhead as you start to peel the tailbone up, lifting up high from those hips here, coming up high onto the back of the shoulders And then as you roll all the way down from the top of the spine, mid-spine, lower spine, pelvis arrives last, and then you are crunching up. Using your core muscles only, guys, as you do that crunch, and then coming back to your bridge. So we are getting into everything here, guys. This is so efficient, as all the Yogalates with SJ workouts are. We're here for 40 minutes, but we are getting so much. We're getting a full body tone up. We are building strength. We are getting long, lean muscle. We are doing all of these things. We're also increasing the metabolism, so the body will become really, really efficient at burning body fat as well, anything that is extra that it doesn't need. Cool. Just starting to continue with this, just making sure that you keep your head in a nice neutral when you come up, so there's a little bit of space between the chin and the chest, and you are lifting up by really engaging from those pelvic floor muscles right through the core as you come up into that crunch, reach, and lower back down, lengthening, coming up high onto the back of the shoulders as you press up to that bridge, pressing evenly through both sides of the feet with that bridge, lifting up, using your core muscles and the hips to lift you up into your bridge. Awesome. Making sure those knees are not rolling inwards. They are either sort of pressing more outwards or straight ahead. Awesome. You might find yourself moving like I have with this. Keep it going. Lift, lift, lift. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. And lower back down with control. Coming up. Crunching. Beautiful work. Staying strong. And then releasing, letting the right leg come up. So you've got a bend into your left knee and the sole of the left foot is on the mat, and you're just lengthening the right leg up. A bit of movement through that foot and ankle, and then switching over to the other side. Left leg comes up, moving through the ankle, the toes, finding a nice release there. Beautiful. And then just bringing the knees in towards the chest, and then you are starting to bring both feet to point up towards the ceiling. Taking a moment here, and we are just letting the hands come underneath the pelvis, shuffling the shoulder blades in underneath the body as you find a leg lower. So you're lowering the legs down, and exhale as you power them back up. Inhale, lowering down with control. Exhale, power it back up. Keeping this going. Now guys, I want you to keep both legs together, and your legs are moving in one piece. So those two legs moving in a nice line. You are exhaling at that power movement as you come up, finding that core engagement the whole time. Don't let that core go. So you are keeping the navel to spine. You are keeping a neutral pelvis. If it's too much to have the legs straight, you can have the legs bent. So you could have a bend into your knees and just make this a very small movement down and back up. So you can really, really shorten the range if this is too intense, guys. It's a pretty full-on movement for the core. We are getting results. We're doing the things, but we want to make sure we do it in a way that is also not going to cause any kind of injury. So really, really listening to the body. Cool. Just bending through those knees and letting the feet come down, and then you are bringing the legs back up to lengthen them out. We're going to start to open and close the legs. So we've got a flex in the feet, toes are flexed back towards the face, heels are pressing up towards the ceiling, and you're just starting to open the legs out, and then exhale as you close the legs back together. Starting to bring your mind to notice that resistance through the outer thighs, the outside of the hips as you bring the legs open, and then feeling as you draw those legs back inward, the muscles through the inner thighs working to really create this movement. Keeping the core engaged. You might notice that your core is needing to stay active here as well. Lengthening the tailbone down so we're not lifting the tailbone up. Finding that connection of the whole spine. Awesome. Now you're just starting to point the toes and continue with this. So you're pointing the toes up towards the ceiling, and you're opening out and closing back up. Just working at your own range, so you might come quite far out or you might be staying quite close with this, just a tiny little move. The most important thing is that you're really bringing your mind to notice the muscles working here. And again, bend those knees if you want to, and just let the feet fall towards the pelvis and continue with this. We are feeling the core engagement, nice neutral pelvis. There's a slight little bit of space between the low back and the mat here with that neutral pelvis. Awesome work. And bending the knees, bringing them in towards the heart center, relaxing the heels to the pelvis. Maybe just hugging those knees in really tight, squeezing in as you lengthen the tailbone down. Any kind of movement here that feels good. Maybe a rock from side to side. Cleansing breaths in through the nose, out the nose or out the mouth. Beautiful, you guys. Now just coming to stillness, separating the knees and the feet, and we're going to continue with that same movement, but we've got to bend through those knees. So we're just opening out and closing back in. Keeping the feet relaxed and just bringing the knees together as you squeeze into those inner thighs, and then opening out as you really feel that resistance here of the outer thighs working the outside of those hips, keeping your core engaged and breathing deeply. Shoulders relaxed, back of the shoulders softening into the mat, and keeping it here. So closing the knees back up and bringing the feet together. Now we're lengthening the legs up. We're going to combine these two movements here. So you're starting to open the legs out, and then you're bending the knees, and you are dropping it down, opening the knees out, and then coming back up. So just continuing with those two movements, flowing with this, and really, really breathing deeply here, keeping all of those muscles through the core engaged. Finding a little bit more length into the back of the legs as we move through this, as you lengthen the legs up. Maybe you might find you might be able to work a little bit more deeply into this each time as you feel a little bit more strength, a little bit more mobility. You can use your hands for support, bringing the hands out a little bit wider to support the body so you're not rocking around in the upper body here. Everything else is nice and still and stable. Jaw is relaxed, head is in a neutral, gaze is straight up towards the ceiling. Awesome. And coming to stillness, grabbing hold of behind the knees, just starting to take a moment here to let those knees fall towards the heart center as you just take some time here to relax down. You might even bring the knees out a little bit wider to hip width or shoulder width apart as you find a nice little stretch here, relaxing the tummy muscles. Maybe starting to take hold of the front side of the knees, rocking gently from side to side as you feel a little massage through the lower back, top of the tailbone, letting go of any tension out of those glutes, relaxing through all of the muscles of the face. Awesome. Coming to stillness, bringing the arms down by your sides. You've still got to bend into those knees. And then we're starting to very gently shift the knees out and back in. So it is a very, very small movement. We're working through the lower abs here and just starting to press out, press in. So you can make this a super, super small movement, or you can, if you're feeling really strong in those low abs, you can start to let the legs come out a little bit further and really squeezing the knees in towards the chest here. Working at whatever range feels good. What I don't want you to do is I don't want you to take any tension into that low back. So if you're noticing any tension coming into the lower back, just making that range a lot smaller, or even completely stopping for a little bit and taking a break and hugging those knees. It's very, very important to keep working at your own range where you're at today as you start to increase more and more strength into the core muscles. We want to really make sure we don't fall into injury. Cool. Now staying here, I want you to lengthen the left leg up, and you've still got to bend into the right knee. We're starting to find a bicycle. So starting to lower the left leg down as you bring the right knee in, and then lengthening the right leg up as you bring the left knee in. Keeping this going and just finding that nice bicycle. Again, making this very small and just not really lowering the leg down too low, or you can start to make it bigger as you start to get a little bit more mobility happening and a little bit more strength. Keeping your core engaged the whole time, most important part. And then let's go back the other way. Bicycle it back. Awesome. Keeping that core engaged, breathing deeply, lengthening the tailbone down, pointing the toes, bringing the knees in towards the chest, and then here we go. Let's take a break. Grabbing hold of the front side of the knees, bringing the knees out wide, allowing the back of the heels to relax toward the pelvis, letting go of any tension, maybe taking a little bit of movement into the feet, the toes. It might feel good to wrap your arms around behind the back of the knees and just let the feet fall heavy again towards the pelvis, maybe rocking from side to side, relaxing the core, the tummy muscles, and then maybe just taking your hands onto the top of the knees, bringing the knees and the feet together, or maybe bringing them to about hip distance apart as you start to circle those knees around, getting a nice little massage into the lower back as well as into the gut, the digestive system, the belly. Awesome. And then releasing this, letting the legs come up, feet come up towards the ceiling, and just a little bit of movement through the feet. Then just coming to your side. We're coming over to the left side, and we're going to do a little clam here. So just starting to lift and lower that top knee, and really, really stacking the hips, stacking the shoulders, core is engaged. You can let that front supporting hand, your right fingertips or palm, be down onto the mat. Finding that you're not rocking forward or rocking back with this. You're keeping everything nice and central. So the whole body is staying really, really still here. The only thing that is working is the knee is lifting up and lowering down. Awesome job. Now you're just lengthening the legs out long, stacking the legs, stacking the feet. Hips are stacking. You can place the left hand to the outside of the head and just lifting up out of that side waist. We're starting to bend through the top knee and just making sure that the shin of that top leg is parallel with the front of the mat here. And you are starting to relax the shoulders, keeping the foot or both feet really relaxed here, core is engaged. You're just starting to lift and lower that bottom leg. So it's a very small little lift and lower down. We are working into the inner thigh and just starting to breathe a little more deeply, keeping the foot neutral so you're not really pointing the toes and you aren't flexing the foot either. You are just really lifting up, lowering down with control. So good, you guys. Keep it going. Just making sure that everything's still here. We're starting to just do the top range now. So just staying at the top of that range, and we are just doing little pulses up and down. Awesome. Just little baby pulses here from the top to the mid, and then you're coming all the way down to nearly touch down onto the mat, and you're starting to do little pulses at the bottom range. So it's just very, very small lift and lower from the bottom to the mid-range, pulsing, really getting into that inner thigh. Let's make it full range. So coming all the way up, all the way down, all the way up, all the way down. Keep going, breathing deeply. This is going to really, really get in there, get the job done. Awesome work. And then we are going to release it when you're ready. Cool. Now just straightening out that top leg. So we've got both legs straight. You can come up a little bit higher, so maybe taking a moment here to come up onto the forearm. The elbow and the shoulder is in line. You have got the hips stacked, you've got the knees stacked, feet stacked, lifting up out of that side waist, and then we're starting to lift and lower the top leg. So with control, you're lifting up and lifting down, keeping your foot in a neutral position so you're not pointing the toe or flexing. You are just keeping a kind of natural feeling of the foot here. Really working into the outside of the glute, the outer thigh, breathing in, lifting up, exhale, lower down with control. Keep those abs engaged, keeping everything still and stable through the upper body. You're pressing the left shoulder into the mat, so you're lifting up out of that shoulder. And now staying at a high range here as you pulse it up and down, just little tiny pulses up and down at that top end of the range. Then I want you to drop the foot down and come to the low end of the range. So just pulsing up and down at that bottom end, little pulses. Keep it going, you guys. Doing awesome. Breathing in, breathing out. Let's go to that full range. So letting the leg come all the way up to hip height or slightly higher and lower it all the way down. Keep it going. Breathing in, breathing out. We are getting all of the good things here today in this 40-minute home class where we are going to be sculpting and burning, getting so much muscle. Let's keep it going. Lifting and lowering. We're nearly done. You're doing so good. Awesome. Release. Just taking a moment here to have a little stretch. You might just take a little bit of a release of the hips back, any movement that feels good. And then we're starting to switch over to the other side. So slowly starting to come over onto your right forearm. Your shoulder is in line with the hips and you've got your shins in line with the front of the mat. The hips are in line with the knees and you are lifting up out of the side waist here. I'm going to start to find that clam. So you might bring the head in the hands or staying up on the forearm as you start to open that top knee up and close it back down. And it's just a little movement here. You're keeping the inner arches of the feet together. You are breathing deeply, keeping the core engaged, shoulders relaxed, and really working into that outside of the hip, the outside of the glute, the inner thighs, all of these things. This looks so easy when you see it being done by someone else, but when you're doing it yourself, you can definitely feel it. Awesome. Now just starting to lengthen the bottom leg out, and you are keeping a bend in the top leg, so you're keeping the shin in line with the front side of the mat, and then you are starting to lift and lower through that bottom leg. So you can place your head in your hands or you can come up onto the forearm, whatever feels better. Keeping the hips stacked, keeping the shoulders stacked, you are lifting up through that side waist. It's a very small lift and lower of the leg, and you are really working into that inner thigh. Foot is in a neutral, breathing in, breathing out, lifting up as high as you can, lowering all the way down, just about touching down onto the mat with the foot. Now let's bring the foot right up and just staying at that top range. Little pulses up and down, tiny little pulses, really getting into that top end of the range. And keep it going, squeezing into that inner thigh. Everything else is still and stable, not rocking through the pelvis. And then let's bring it down to the low range. So the foot is nearly coming all the way down. It's just little pulses up and down. Keep it going, you guys. Doing amazing. Keep it going. Breathing deeply in through the nose, out the mouth or out the nose. And let's go to that full range. All the way up and all the way down. Keep it going. Amazing work. We're nearly done. And we are going to bring it down when you're ready. Just letting that leg come all the way down. And releasing. Bringing both legs one on top of the other. Feet are stacked. Knees are stacked. Hips are stacked. You are lifting up out of the shoulder here. So using that left hand to press into the mat. You can be down low or you can come up a little bit higher onto the forearm. So whatever feels better for you, we just want to have a nice long line from the top of the head all the way out the toes, and we are keeping nice and neutral here with the pelvis. Just bringing the leg up and lowering it back down. So it is a lift up and lower down, keeping the foot nice and neutral so you're not pointing the toes and you're not flexing either through the foot. And we are keeping everything very, very still and stable. So you're working through that outer thigh, the outside of the glute, and we're also working into the inner thighs as well. So keeping everything going, keeping the core engaged, you're breathing, lengthening out the top of the head, finding even more length through the core muscles, lifting up, lowering down. Also making sure you're not tilting forward or back, staying nice and neutral here. And then let's go to that top range here. So bringing the leg up, we're coming all the way to the top, just above hip height, and then coming back down to a little bit lower. So just a little pulse up and down at that top range. Keep it going, guys. Breathing in, breathing out, working into the outer glute, the outside of the hip, the outer thigh, we're getting it, and then coming down to that low range. So just letting the foot come just above the other foot, and we're just coming up and down, little pulses up and down. Keep it going, breathing in, breathing out, pulsing, pulsing, pulsing. Amazing. Now full range, all the way up, all the way down. Let's go. Let's get it. Breathing. Keep it going, staying still and stable, and release. Well done. Coming all the way over onto your tummy and letting the legs go long behind you, tops of the feet connecting into the mat. You can place your hands next to the head, palm facing down, finding a comfortable position of the arms. Maybe letting the head come to one side and finding what feels good with the head on that one side. Now lifting both feet up, and we are just lifting and lowering the low legs. So you're really working into the glute muscles here, using those glute muscles, the smile line underneath the glute muscles, the booty, to lift and lower down. So it's a very small lift up, lower down, keeping everything engaged, keeping your core engaged softly, but relaxing the whole upper body. Now we're going to start to cross the ankles. So just crossing one ankle in front of the other, keeping this going. You can move fast or slow. We just want to really work into those glute muscles here. Awesome. And then release. Bringing your head to come to the other side, finding a comfortable position on the other side of that head. Just starting to soften and relax down the arms, and the fingertips come down. You are flexing the feet, and then you are pointing the toes. We're going to continue with that lift and lower down. So keeping those small lifts up, lowering down, not bringing anything into the low back. So we're really using those glute muscles to drive this movement. It is a little lift up, lower down, keep it going, squeezing into those muscles as you keep it going. Now we're going to start to cross the ankles, crossing one ankle in front of the other. Keep it going. You can move fast, you can move slow, just keeping the core engaged, breathing deeply, relaxing the upper body, and release. The tops of the feet come back down onto the mat. We're coming up onto the forearms. So taking your time to find the forearms connecting. The elbows are in line with the wrists, and you've got your shoulders down and away from the ears. You're pressing the shoulders down towards the earth, and you are engaging into the core. So you're finding length through the low back. You can let the head drop down, finding a nice heavy head as you find length through the back of the neck. Just relax the tummy muscles for a moment, bringing the feet out a little bit wider, maybe about hip width apart, relaxing the glutes. Then we are starting to tuck the toes, and then let the feet come up, and just a little bit of movement through the feet here. Now we're going to start to bring the heels in towards the glutes, and then lengthen the legs back out. So you can have your head in a neutral for this. You've got the back of the neck and the spine in one nice long line. You are lifting up out of the pelvic floor and all the way up to the top of the head. So feeling that engagement of core, and then we're starting to bring those heels in and press it back. Awesome. Really squeezing into those glutes, the hamstrings, backs of the legs. Breathing in, breathing out as you make those little movements in and out. Awesome. Now let's point the toes, or even a little bit of a more natural foot here. And you are starting to continue with that. So you're starting to really squeeze into the back of those legs, bringing the heels towards the glutes, and then shifting the feet forward towards the end of the mat. Cool. Just starting to release this, letting the tops of the feet connect back down into the earth. Maybe bringing the feet out a little bit wider. We are going to start a little bit of a cobra here. So you can have the feet to be about hip width apart, tops of the feet connecting down, pressing the pubic bone down into the mat, bringing the hands to either side of the head, and then you're starting to roll up cobra. Exhale, roll down, forehead kisses the earth. Inhale, rolling up cobra, finding length here. Exhale, floating down. You can continue with this, flowing freely through the spine, making sure you're not looking up or looking down, so you've got the whole head, neck, and rest of the spine in one nice long line. And we're really pressing into the pubic bone, the tops of the feet, to bring us up, using the back muscles as well and the abs rather than so much weight into the hands. Awesome. Releasing it. We're going to come to a seal. So just starting to come onto the forearms and then just slightly turning the fingertips out. We want to have the hands about mat width apart, and we are releasing the belly down, releasing the pubic bone down. You can bring the feet out a little bit wider. You've got the tops of the feet connected, and we're just starting to come up and lower down. So again, we are working here to lift up through that low back and then lowering back down onto the forearms and onto the elbows, seeing if you can really use your core strength as well as your glutes and your back muscles to lift you up. Also the legs, the front side of those legs to lift you, rather than placing too much weight into the hands. And we are keeping the spine in that nice neutral, so your gaze is just kind of to the top end of the mat. When you're ready, you can just lower this down and release, taking a moment to let the forehead come down onto the mat. Just letting the tummy muscles go, and let's come all the way over. We're starting to really wind this down now. If you do have a resistance band or booty band, you might like to just take a moment to take it off, placing it to one side. Let's come to a tabletop position. So setting up here, we've got the shoulders in line with the wrists, the knees in line with the hips. We're coming to cat-cow. So dropping the belly, gaze up, tailbone up, rounding the spine, chin to chest. Inhale, coming up, gaze up, tailbone up. Exhale, pressing the mat away, rounding the spine, chin to chest. Keeping this going and really working at your own pace, working with what feels good. You might even start to sit back towards the heels as you round the spine, and maybe bending generously through the elbows as you start to shift forward, coming back up. So anything at all that feels good with this. Really tuning into your body. You might even close the eyes or soften the gaze, and imagine that your body is like a wave of the ocean, just flowing freely. It doesn't end, so you're really connecting to your breath here as you breathe deeply in, coming up, gazing up, tailbone up, and then exhale as you round the spine, chin to chest. Beautiful work. And then we're just coming back to our tabletop position, coming to stillness, finding that length through the spine here. And you're starting to sit back towards the heels and then coming all the way over to the other side. And we're circling the pelvis all the way around, allowing the head and neck to go, just finding softness into the whole body, keeping it going in that one direction, feeling a beautiful stretch through the side waist. Flowing with this, breathing deeply in and fully out, and then starting to reverse it, going back the other way. Letting the head relax even more, finding softness into the elbows. If you don't like being on your hands here, if you've got kind of any kind of tension in your wrists, you can be on your forearms as well for this. Cool. And then just coming back through center. We're starting to press the left foot back. So the heel is pressing towards the back of the room and the toes are pointing down. Then you're bringing the knee all the way in towards the chest and then placing the foot to the outside of the hand. Starting to drop the pelvis down, opening up through that front side of the heart center, and just taking a moment to really drop the pelvis, feeling that length through the back of the neck. And then we're starting to lift the toes, bringing the toes towards the face, pressing the hips back and finding length through the back of the leg as you drop the head down. Inhale, shifting forward. So starting to press the hips forward, gaze straight forward, and you might just frame that foot with the hands. So bringing the hands to either side of the foot as you drop the hips down, and then lifting the toes, pressing the hips back, bringing the head down and the belly down towards the top of that leg. Inhale, shifting forward, dropping the pelvis down, opening up through the heart center. Exhale, rounding the spine, bringing the head down, belly comes to the top of the leg, lengthening through the back of that leg. Inhale, shifting forward, and then staying here. We're starting to heel toe the foot across the body. We want to try to bring the shin to be parallel with the front of the mat, but it doesn't need to be fully parallel. So for a less intense stretch, you can start to let that foot come a little bit further back towards the right hip. So the further back the foot, the less intense the stretch, and then you can either stay up on the fingertips or maybe drop down to the palms or forearms, or start to claw the hands forward as you start to lower the belly and the heart center and forehead down onto the mat. Just keeping the hips nice and square, allowing that right leg to relax, the top of the right foot connected down, the hips releasing, breathing deeply into the belly, feeling that blowing up of those tummy muscles, pressing down into the shin, and then exhale, 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 release. When you're ready, softly gazing up. Starting to walk the hands back in towards the body, tucking the back toes under. You are starting to press into that foot as you shift the left leg back and sitting back towards the back of the heels as you keep those toes tucked under. Maybe starting to let the forehead come down onto the mat and allowing some nice openness here through the back of the shoulders. And then we're starting to shift forward. Untuck the toes, coming to tabletop, connecting the tops of the feet here, and then you're starting to press the right foot back. So flexing the foot, pressing that right heel back, toes are pointing straight down, finding length from the top of the head all the way out that heel. You're shifting the knee all the way through and placing it down to the outside of that right hand. Starting to find that openness and that levelness of the hips here as you drop the hips down. Maybe you might frame the foot with the hand, so you might start to bring the right hand to the outside of that foot, starting to press the hips back, lift the toes, letting the head come down as you bring the belly and head down and release. Inhale, shifting forward, opening the heart. Exhale, rounding the spine, dropping the head, dropping down towards that straightened leg as you press the hips back. Inhale, shifting forward, opening the heart, shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, pressing back, lifting the toes and letting everything relax down, finding that length through the back of the leg. Inhale, shifting forward. Exhale, starting to come to walk the foot across the body, finding that parallel position of the shin, bringing that right foot as far back towards the other knee or the other hip as you like. So really, really coming into a place where you can feel a stretch, but you can still breathe really deeply. So this might be staying up on the fingertips, it might be coming down to the palms, it might be coming to the forearms, or it might be coming all the way down with the forehead down on the mat. Maybe just starting to find those deeper breaths, breathing fully in, sending that breath to melt any tension as you breathe fully out. Relaxing down, continuing to breathe deeply, and then when you're ready, finding a soft gaze towards the top end of your mat as you start to bring the hands to come back onto the mat, tucking the back toes under, and then starting to shift back, so bringing the right leg back, and let's come to a child's pose. So starting to bring the knees out wide, and untucking the toes, sitting back towards the heels, walking the hands forward, and then starting to lower the forehead down, melting the heart down towards the mat, letting the belly relax, allowing the pelvis to release, sending your breath to the lower back, the pelvis, breathing deeply in. Exhale, 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 releasing as you melt all the way out. Enjoying this time where you get to completely relax. Maybe you might roll the forehead a few times over the mat, finding a little massage into that space. It's been really beautiful to do this workout with you today. You can stay here for as long as you like in child's pose. Or maybe you might like to transition to a Shavasana, just laying down on your back and just taking a little rest, relaxing down. Maybe you might like to just adjust the arms in a different way, maybe bending into the elbows here in your child's pose. And just allowing a little bit more of a release here of the head to one side. Staying there for a little while before moving to the other side. If you enjoyed this workout today, I encourage you to tune in for more. There is new workouts, yoga, Pilates, strength training, all the free home workouts here on the channel coming out and being released every Wednesday and Friday. All you need to do is subscribe to the channel for notifications of that, and there's loads of other workouts here that you might enjoy as well, so you might like to check those out. I hope you have the most amazing rest of your day. It's been awesome, as it always is. Namaste.